here I have created one object. What is this object? This object is Raju object. This object is Raju object. When this object is created, memory will be allocated for instance variable. What is the age now? What is the age now? Age is a instance variable. Did I initialize that? No. Then what will happen? It will be initialized with the default value. Raju is one object. Raju is one object. When the Raju object is created, age variable is initialized with the default value. So Raju object having a copy of the age. Now I am going to create one more object here. User Rani is equal to new user. Rani is equal to new user. What I have done? I have created one more object. What is the variable of that object? Rani. For the Rani object also, age variable be initialized with the 0. That means one variable available, but I have created two objects. Every object is maintaining its own copy of the instance variable. Raju will have one age, Rani will have one age, Ramesh will have one age. That's why instance variables are object variables. Every object will maintain its own copy of the instance variable. Is my point clear now? Yes. Can you read the last point? What is the last point? Every object will maintain its own copy of the instance variable. So now my class is having one instance variable. I created two objects for that class. How many times memory will be allocated for that variable? 2 times. For Raju object, memory will be allocated. For Rani object also, memory will be allocated. Why? Because object instance variables are specific to objects. Every object will maintain its own copy of the instance variable. Can I prove that now? Yes. Raju and Rani. Now I am going to access like this. System.out.println Raju.age object.variable. Now if I access the variable directly like this, error. If I access the variable directly, it is error. Why? Because my variable is an instance variable, method is a static method. Instance, static, both are enemies. Instance and static both are enemies in the Java. Instance variables cannot be accessed in the static methods directly. If you want to access the instance variable, we will go for object dot instance variable. Are you guys clear with my point? Now if I want to access the age is a static variable, age is a non-static variable. Non-static variable, sir, what is that static? बाद में आएगा. Right, now we are focusing on the instance. How to access the instance variable? Object name dot variable. What is the object name? Raju. Raju dot age. Now similarly here, system.out.println Rani dot age. Rani dot age. If I run this program, what is the output? What is the output? 0 0. Why 0 0? I have not initialized. Then who will initialize? JVM. When JVM will initialize? When the object is created. Okay, now let's do run. Are we saying 0 0? That 0 is a default value for the int. My variable is a int. For the int variable, default value is 0. Okay, fine. Now I am going to do like this. Raju dot age is equal to 20. Raju dot age is equal to 20. So Rani age, am I changing the Rani age? I am changing only Raju age. Okay. What is the conclusion? Conclusion matlab 20 0. Everybody can read it, man. When I assign the value for the Raju age. Rani age is changing. Rani age not changing. Not changing. What is the conclusion? Raju maintaining age as one copy. Rani maintaining age as one copy. When I change the variable value for the Raju object, Rani object value not changed. That is the proof to say that every object will maintain its own copy of the instance variables. Did you understand my point now? Is this clear? Yes. Can I change the Rani variable value also? Rani dot age is equal to 25. Rani dot age is equal to 25. Now execute this. For Raju age we are getting 20. For Rani age we are getting 25. इसका मतलब they are maintaining their own copies. Every object is maintaining its own copy of the instance variable. How to access the instance variable now? How I am accessing the instance variable? Come on. Object data variable name. Why? My logic is available in the static method. Static method instance variables are enemies. Instance variables cannot be accessed in the static method directly. That's why for instance variables we are accessing by using object. Are you guys getting my point? Right. Good. Biryani restaurant. Guys, okay. Now observe the code. Let's understand the internals of this program. Are you getting my point? So we are doing post-mortem. What is the meaning of post-mortem? Right? So when the person is dead, unwanted, unexpected death is happened, hospital people will take that body, will cut that body and will see what exactly happened internally. Why this person dead? How this person dead? वो कब death हुआ था? All the information doctors will identify by investigating our body parts. By investigating our body parts, doctors will understand root cause of the death. That is called post-mortem. Similarly, we are not doctors to cut the body, right? We are engineers. So we need to do post-mortem on the program, not on the human body. Okay, guys. Now, why we are doing post-mortem on the program? अंदर क्या चल रहा है, अंदर क्या हो रहा है? We need to understand what is happening internally in the JVM. We are doing post-mortem for the JVM. We should not do post-mortem for the humans because we are not doctors. We are engineers. हम JVM को post-mortem करना है, right? Do you need any knife for that? No, we just need to. JVM itself we can't see. Can I see the JVM with my eyes? I cannot see. Why? It is a virtual machine. वो कब आएगा, कैसे आएगा, कब रहेगा, कुछ नहीं पता चलता. It is just a virtual machine. Right. Now let's understand internally what is happening in the program. When I execute this program, what is happening internally? What is happening internally? Once you understand the internals, your confidence level will increase. When you will talk confidently on the subject, if you know the internals of the program. Always we need to understand the internals, how it is working. Code everybody can write. Everybody can write. But the programmer who understands the internals will get more confidence. I have seen one shairi in the Hindi. Can I tell that? लहरें को साथ कोई भी तैर कर सकता है। सहिंजा वो जो लहरों के चीर करके तैर लेता है। सुना? व्हाट इज द मीनिंग? ट्रांसलेट कर सकते कोई? लहरें को साथ कोई भी तैर कर सकता है। सहिंजा वो जो लहरों के चीर करके तैर लेता है। Anybody can translate that? Huh? Huh. When the water is flowing, everybody can swim in that flow. वो बंदा who return swim करता है, that person is called as a swimmer. Opposite direction में जाना है. When the water is flowing from top to bottom, everybody can do the swimming. But if you do the swim in the reverse direction, then you are called as a swimmer. पता है? Good. Similarly, everybody can write the program. But who is called as a good programmer? Who understands internals of the program, that person is called as a good programmer. Understand my point? Good. Now let's understand internals of this program. People are getting shocked. इसको कैसे हिंदी आता है उसके? हाँ? शायर कैसे आया? Explain in English. Explain किया यार. Good. चलो. Now here line number 1. Can you tell me what will happen when this first line is executed? Object will be created. What is the meaning of object creation? Memory will be allocated. Memory will be allocated. Can I call this object as a Raju object? Can I call this object as a Raju object? Raju object is created. Look at this program. Look at this program. Raju object is created. Whenever the object is created, first JVM will check, do we have any instance variables in the class? Do we have any instance variables in the class? Can you check it? Do I have any instance variable? Yes, I have one instance variable. What is that? Age. Then immediately it will create the age variable. It will check, is that variable just declared or that variable initialized? Is that just declared or is that variable initialized also? Just declared. Nothing but that variable is not initialized. When the programmer did not initialize the variable, then JVM will initialize the variable with the default value. What is the data type of the variable? Integer. For integer, what is the default value? 0. Into age is equal to 0. That variable is initialized with the default value. When the first, now see here, when the first line of code is executed, one object is created, memory allocated for the instance variable, and that instance variable initialized with the default value, that is 0. Are you guys clear with my point? Now, after that, second line of code is executed. What I am doing in the second line? I am initializing. Already that variable is initialized. Now I am initializing. JVM initialized in the first line only. I am initializing the variable in the second line. Can I call it as a reinitialization? Yes. Now JVM will think, this person also initialized this variable. ठीक है, मेरा value निकाल के programmer को importance देना पड़ेगा. So remove my value, keep the programmer value. Programmer is forcing me to reinitialize the variable. Then JVM will reinitialize the age variable with the 20. Are you guys getting my point? Now, third line. What I am doing in the third line? System.out.println of Raju.age. Now in the age variable, what value available? 20 available. That's why we are getting the output as 20. Is this clear? Now let's move on. Fourth line of code is available. What I am doing in the fourth line? I am creating the object. What is the meaning of creating the object? Another object will be created. What is the variable holding that object? Rani is the variable. I have created another object in the fourth line. That means I have allocated memory for the Rani object. Whenever we create the object, immediately it will check, is there any instance variable available? Yes, there is a instance variable available. Then allocate the memory. This variable initialized or not initialized? Not initialized. Then what JVM will do? Okay, programmer did not initialize. Let me initialize the 0 because it is a default value. Right. Memory allocated for the age. Raju having the age, Rani also having the age. Two objects will have their own copy of the variable. Fourth line completed. Come to fifth line. What is happening in the fifth line? Rani dot age. That means what programmer is doing now? He is reinitializing the age variable for the Rani object. Then what the JVM will do? Programmer is forcing me. Okay, remove my value. Programmer value store karo. 25. It is going to store 25. Then what I am doing in the sixth line? System.out.println Rani.age. Rani is one object which is holding age variable. Rani object age variable having 25, so it will print 25 as the output. Understand how this program is working? Is it clear now? So whenever we create the object, memory will be allocated and instance variables also will be created. If you create the object, then only instance variable will be created in the JVM. If you don't create the object, then instance variable will not be created. Instance variables are called as object variable. If object is available, instance variable will be available. If object not available, instance variable will not be available. Are you getting my point? Now, can you tell me? I'm removing this diagram now. I want you people to explain me once again. Okay? Nikal dena. Just to focus on these 6 lines of code. Now, when the first line is executed, what will happen? Object will be created. Who is going to create the object? JVM will be creating the object. What is the meaning of object creation? Allocating the memory. When the object is created, what JVM will do immediately? It will check for the instance variables in the class. It will check for the instance variable. Do we have the instance variable? Yes. What is the meaning of instance variable? The variable which is declared inside the class, outside the method, is called as instance variable. Do we have the instance variable? Yes. What is that instance variable? Age. Then what JVM will do? What JVM will do? It will allocate the memory for the instance variable. It will check that variable is just declared or that variable is initialized. What I have done? I have just declared. Then what JVM will do? It will initialize with the default value based on the data type. What is the data type of my variable? Integer. What is the default value for the integer? 0. Now, when the first line of code is executed, object is created, instance variable created, memory allocated for the instance variable initialized with the default value. So many things are happening in one line of code. So those are called as internals of the program. So if you understand the internals, then your confidence will increase. Getting my point? Yes. Now, first line is completed. Come to second line. What I am doing in the second line? Raju.age. Now tell me, if I explain all these things in the variables class, we discussed variables, right? If I explain this much subject in the variables, people will feel Java is difficult. People will feel Java is difficult. People bhag jata hai. People will run away from the class. So that's why we did not cover all the topics in the first chapter and second chapter and third chapter, because without understanding the internals, we can't explain all these things. Okay? We know when to teach what. That proper planning is already prepared. Okay guys? Fine. Good. Now come to second line. Raju.age. What's that Raju.age? Raju is a variable which is holding one user class object. That means variable dot, Raju dot age. One variable I am using to access another variable. Raju is also a variable. Age is also a variable. Raju variable holding object. Age is a instance variable. Raju dot age. What is the meaning of that? What is the meaning of that? Raju variable having age. Raju is one object now. In that object age variable available. What is the meaning of Raju dot age? In the Raju object, initialize the age variable with 20. Can I call it as a reinitialization? Can I call it as a reinitialization? Yes, I have done the reinitialization. What I am doing it now, in the Raju object, age variable holding which value? 20. When I access Raju.age, it will print what? 20. Because Raju object having a copy of the age variable, that age variable in the Raju object holding value 20. When the third line of code is executed, we will get the output as a 20. Are you clear? Now, let's go for fourth line. What I am doing in the fourth line? What I am doing in the fourth line? I am creating the object. Now, tell me, what is the meaning of creating the object? Allocating the memory. Who is creating the object? Who is allocating the memory? JVM is creating the object. JVM is allocating the memory. When the memory is allocated for the object, what the JVM will do immediately? What the JVM will do immediately? Right? Check karo. Do we have any instance variables in the class? Do we have any instance variable in the class? Yes. What is instance variable? The variable which is declared inside the class, outside the method, is called as a instance variable. Memory will be allocated for the instance variable. That instance variable is initialized or not initialized? Initialized or not initialized? Not initialized. Then what JVM will do? Initialized with the default based on the data type. What is the data type of the variable? Integer. What is the default value for the integer? 0. Done. Done. Fourth line is executed. Then JVM will go to fifth line. What I am doing in the fifth line? Rani.age. Rani.age. That means, am I accessing this variable or this variable? Rani age, not Raju age. Every object will maintain its own copy of the instance variable. Now in the fifth line I am doing Rani.age. What is going to happen now? The default value will be reinitialized with the 25. Raju age is 20, Rani age is 25. Are you clear with my point? Now come to line number 6. What is happening in the line number 6? What is happening in the line number 6? I am printing Rani age. Rani object age variable. What is the value? 25. So what is the output? 20, 25. Is this clear now? Next, suppose if I write like this, user Ashok is equal to new user. When this line of code is executed, what will happen? Object will be created. Object will be created. For this object, I am giving the name as a Ashok. Then what will happen? Age variable will be created. Ashok also will have the age variable. What is the value? 0. 0. That is a default value. Now, are you clear with this line of code? Is there any difficulty? No. We are just using instance variable and we are creating the object. We are initializing the variable. We are accessing the variable. Instance variables are object variable. If you create the object, then only instance variable will be created in the JVM. Instance variables we cannot access directly in the static method. Instance and static both are enemies in the Java. Are you clear with this point? Good. Read this. Come on. Read these concepts. Read this. Are you clear with the concept now? Good. Okay. Instance variables are also called as non-static variables. Alright. Next one. Let's go for static variables. Let's go for static variables. The variables which are declared. The variables which are declared with the. Guys, I'm getting some disturbance from backside. What's happening there? Kuch gadbad hua? Any problem? Why noise is coming? Keep silent. Concentrate on the class. This much good explanation you will not get outside. If you miss the class, you are gone. If you miss the class, you are gone. Nobody will give you this much clarity on the OOPS concepts. For sure. Please concentrate. Static variables. The variables which are declared inside the class, outside the method with the static keyword. Static is one of the keyword in the Java. The variables which are declared inside the class and outside the method with the static keyword. With the static keyword are called as static variables. The variables which are declared inside the class and outside the method with the static keyword are called as static variables. Static variables are class level variables. Instance variables are object level variables. Static variables are class level variables. Static variables are class level variables. Memory will be allocated for the static variables when the class is loaded into the JVM. Memory will be allocated for the instance variable when the object is created. Static variables are not related to the object. Whenever you run the program, class loader subsystem will load the class into JVM. When the class is loaded into the JVM, immediately JVM will check, is there any static variable available in the class? Then allocate the memory. JVM will allocate the memory for the static variables immediately when the class is loaded into the JVM. Can we say JVM and static very close friends? Yes or no? JVM and static variables are very close friends. That's the reason whenever the class is loaded into the JVM, immediately it is going to allocate the memory for static variable. What about object? What about instance variable? JVM and instance variables are two relatives. They are not that much close friends. That's why, bye, TK, hi, Ruko. When the object is created, then only memory will be allocated for the instance variable. What about the static variable? Close friends. That's why when the class is loaded, immediately it is going to allocate the memory for the static variable. Just simple. Learning programming is not difficult. Just to relate with your real life example. Now, simple example. Two people came. One person is my friend, another person is not my friend. Okay? Whom I will meet first? Friend को मैं meet करता हूँ. I will wish my friend, I will meet my friend. So just imagine, JVM static variables are close friends. JVM instance variables are not close friends. So that's why whenever the class is loaded, JVM will allocate the memory for static variable. It will not allocate the memory for the instance variable. When the instance variable memory will be allocated, if the object is created, then only memory will be allocated for the instance variable. Just if you remember this general example, then easily you can remember the concept. Okay, whenever you are preparing, write it. JVM static close friends. That's why when the class is loaded, immediately memory will be allocated for the static variable. Static variables are class level variables. When class is loaded into JVM, then immediately memory will be allocated for static variable. Memory will be allocated for static variable. Static variables are common for the objects. You create any number of objects. All the objects will have same copy. Instance variable means every object will have their own copy. But when you go for static variable, all the objects will have same copy. Simple example. Now, if I ask this person, can you stand up? Your name, Ankit. Your age, 25. You are doing course in which institute? Ashoka. Yeah, sit down. That means he's having a name, he's having an age, he's doing the course in our institute. Next person, stand up. Name, Gautam. Age, 26. You are doing course in which institute? Ashoka. That means the institute name is common for both objects. Now you have to stand up. He is one object. Ankit is one object. If this first person is Ankit, his name is Ankit. Second person name is Gautam. So name is different for two people. Two objects are having their own name, but they are doing the course in Ashoka IT. Ashoka IT is common for both. Now for all these 60 people, every person is having a separate name, every person having some age, every person having a gender, but you all are belongs to one institute now. So institute name is common for all the objects, name is specific to every object. When you want to declare some data which is common for all the objects, go for static variable. When you want to declare some data which is specific to every object, then go for instance variable. So when to go for instance variable, when to go for static variable, when to go for instance variable, when to go for static variable. If all the objects want the same data, then go for static variable. If every object want to maintain their own copy of the data, then go for instance variable. When the memory will be allocated for instance variables, when the object is created. When the memory will be allocated for static variable, when the class is loaded, because static variables are class level, they are not specific to object. Static variable is common for all the objects. Are you guys clear with my point? Right. So what is a static variable? What is a static variable? The variables which are declared inside the class and outside the method with static keyword are called as static variables. Static variables are class level variables. When the class is loaded into JVM, then immediately memory will be allocated for the static variables. All the objects of the class will maintain same copy of the static variable. So instance variable objects of the class will maintain same copy of the static variable. So instance variable will be having different copy for every object. Static variables will have same copy. And how many times memory will be allocated for instance variable? How many times memory will be allocated for static variables? How many times the memory will be allocated for instance variables? How many times the memory will be allocated for static variables? For static variables, memory will be allocated only one time. That is when the class is loaded into JVM. What about instance variable? Whenever you create the object, memory will be allocated. If you create the second object, again memory will be allocated. If you create third object, again memory will be allocated. If you create three objects, memory will be allocated for instance variable 3 times. But for static variable, memory will be allocated only one time. Why? Because static variables are class level variables, instance variables are object level variables. Are you guys able to understand? Right. So for static variables, memory will be allocated when the class is loaded. Memory will be allocated for static variables. Memory will be allocated for static variables only once when the class is loaded into JVM. But what about the instance variables? When we create the object, memory will be allocated for instance variable. When you create a new object, memory will be allocated. If you create the object, then memory will be allocated. If we create object, if you create two objects, then what will happen? If you create two objects, then 2 times memory will be allocated for instance variables. But for static variables, if you create 100 objects also, no. Memory will be allocated only one time. Now tell me, when to go for instance variables, when to go for static variables? When we want to maintain same copy of the data for all the objects. Best example, you all are students, you have your own name, you have your own age or gender or your phone number, email ID. Everybody will have a unique phone number. Everybody will have a unique name. Everybody will have a unique mobile number, unique email ID. But the institute name is common for all of you. You all are doing the course in the same institute. So, institute name, you can call it as a static variable. Name, email, phone number, we can call as a instance variable. Are you guys clear with my point? Good. So let me take one class here with a name called student. New, interesting or not? Very interesting. If you focus, it's very interesting. If you deviate, body present, mind absent means kuch nahi aata. It's very difficult to understand. Student is there. Now I want to declare. Now you all are the students. I want to declare student to data. Now I want to declare student data. I need a class. Class is the plan. Class is a plan. To create the class, I'm using a keyword called class keyword. I'm using a keyword called class keyword. Now here I will declare string name. Why I am taking name as a string? Name nothing but group of characters. Name nothing but group of characters. And integer are long phone number. Long phone number and the string email. Name, email and phone number. Now string, I'm going to take string institute. String institute. If I declare string institute as a instance variable, what is the problem? Unnecessarily bar memory allocated in the JVM. So is it recommended? Why? Because now you all are the students, belongs to our institute. Your name, your email ID, your phone number is unique or different, but institute name is common, right? Now if I go here, if I create a main method, now I am going to create student, नाम क्या है? Ankit. Yeah. So इसका नाम Ankit is equal to new student. Now if this line of code is executed, what will happen? Object will be created. Then what will happen? memory will be allocated for the instance variable. How many instance variables available? How many instance variables available? 4 instance variables are available. Now I am going to do student Gautam is equal to new student. If I do like this, again what will happen? Memory will be allocated for the all the 4 variables once again. All the four variables will be created once again in the JVM. So first, when the Ankit object is created, these 4 variables will be created. Memory will be allocated. When the Gautam object is created, again 4 variables will be created. Memory will be allocated. But we need to apply our common sense as a programmer. Array, there are 60 people available. If I create object for the 60 people, 60 times memory will be allocated for the variable. But institute name is the common. Why to allocate memory every time? Why to allocate memory every time? Why to waste our memory? Why to waste our memory? Then what I will do? This one I will declare as a static. फायदा क्या है? What is the use? Now, for the institute variable, memory will be allocated only once. For the remaining variables, memory will be allocated whenever the objects are created. Are you guys getting my point? Okay. Now, if I execute this program, can you tell me what will happen internally? Whenever I execute this program, can you tell me what will happen internally? I want you people to tell me what will happen internally when I execute this program. Okay, guys? Right. This is my program. What will happen when this online people able to follow me? Good. Good. Right. So now here I have a class called student. Now I am going to execute this program. Who is going to execute our program? JVM. Who will load the class into JVM? Class loader subsystem. Now the class is loaded. Class is loaded. What JVM will do? It will check for his best friend. Who is the best friend for JVM? Static variable. So when the class is loaded, immediately JVM will allocate the memory for which variable? Static variable. What is that static variable? Institute. Is there any value available? No value. Then it will initialize the default value. The default value for the institute is null. String default value is a null value. String default value is a null value. Now, instance variable is created in the JVM. Instance variable created in the JVM. Instance variable created. Institute variable is created. Institute variable is a static variable. Static variables will be created in the JVM when the class is loaded. After that, now it is going to execute the program from the main method. Main method is also a static method. Static JVM, close friends. First it will check the static variable. Yes, static variable is available. Static variable memory allocated. Then it is checking static method. Which is static method? Main method. Main method is a static method. That's why JVM is calling that main method by default. What is the entry point for our program execution? Main method. JVM is going to execute the program from the main method. Main method is also a static method. Main method is also a static method. Okay, execution started. Inside the main method, what is the first line? Student Ankit is equal to new student. What is the meaning of that? Creating the object. I'm creating one object for Ankit. When the object is created for student class, then what JVM will do? It will check, do we have any instance variable? Do we have any instance variable? Yes. How many instance variables available? 3. Name is a string. Default value null. Then email, string, default value, null. Phone number, long, default value, 0. Okay? Memory allocated for 3 variables when the object is created, because these 3 variables are instance variables. That is completed. Go to the next line. Go to the next line. Student Gautam is equal to new student. What is the meaning of student Gautam is equal to new student? I am creating one more object. One more object with a name called Gautam. Okay. When this object is created, memory is allocated, then it will check, do we have any instance variable? Do we have any instance variable? Yes. Those variables are initialized or not initialized? Not initialized. Then what JVM will do? It will create these instance variables in the Gautam object, will initialize with the default value. Ankit is having its own copy of the variable. Ankit is one object. Ankit object having its own copy of the instance variable. Gautam is one object. Gautam object having its own copy of the instance variable. Is there any relation between static variable and object? Static variable and object, is there any relation? No. Static variables are created when the class is loaded. Instance variable is created when the object is created. How many times memory allocated for the static variable? Only one time. That is also when the class is loaded. How many times memory allocated for instance variable? 2 times. Why 2 times allocated? Because I created 2 objects. If I create 3 objects, 3 times. If I create 10 objects, 10 times. Clear now? Instance variable nothing but object variable. Static variable nothing but class variable. When the class is loaded, memory will be allocated for static variable. When the object is created, memory will be allocated for instance variable. Fine, good. So with this we got the clarity on what is instance variable and what is static variable. Static variables we can access directly by using class name. Static variables can be accessed directly by using class name. How we are accessing the instance variables? Instance variables we are accessing by using object name. Static variables we will access by using class name. Static variables we will access using class name. How to access the static variable? Directly you can access, or you can access by using class name also. What is my class name? Student. Student dot institute is equal to Ashok IT. Like this we are doing. Student dot institute. When it comes to the name, what I will do? Ankit dot name. Ankit dot name is equal to Ankit. Okay? Ankit is one object. When it comes to Gautam object, it is Gautam dot name. How I am? Name is what kind of variable? Name is what kind of variable? String variable. Instance variable or static variable? Name is instance variable or static variable? Instance. How I am accessing the instance variable? How I am accessing the instance variable? By using object. How I am accessing the static variable? By using class name. How many times memory will be allocated for instance variable? Every time when the object is created. How many times memory will be allocated for static variable? Only one time when the class is loaded into the JVM. Clear? Now, when to go for instance variable and when to go for static variable? When to go for instance variable? When to go for static variable? When to go for instance variables and when to go for static variables? Come on, tell me. Come on, guys. When to declare variable as static or non-static? Non-static nothing but instance. Non-static nothing but instance. Instance is also called as a global. Okay. If we want different value for every object, then go for non-static or instant. If you want same value for all the objects, then static. If we want to store different value based on object, then use instance variable. When the variable value is same for all the objects, then go for static. If we want to store same value for all objects, then use static variable. Is this clear? Right. We are clear with instance variables and static variables. Now, static variables can be accessed directly by using class name. Fine. Next, third category, those are called as, what are that? Local variables. Now tell me, what is a local variable? The variables which are declared inside the method. Now we know about method. In future, we will get a constructor, we will get the block. Okay? The variable which is declared inside the method or constructor or the block is called as a local variable. The variables which are declared inside the method or constructor or block are called as local variables. Local variables are specific to that method or that constructor or that block. If we declare a local variable within the method, that variable can be used only within that method. The scope of the variable is limited. The scope of the local variable is limited. That variable we can use only within that method execution. That variable will not be available outside of the method. Are you guys getting my point? The variables which are declared inside the method or constructor or block are called as local variable. If we declare a variable within the method, then that variable can be used or accessed only within that method, not outside. For example, now I am declaring one variable here, integer a is equal to 10. Now tell me, a is a global variable or a is a local variable? A is a local variable. Now, where I can access this a variable? I declared this a variable inside the main method. The variable which is declared inside the method is called as a local variable. This method you can access only in the main method because it is declared only in the main method. Tomorrow I am going to write one M1 method. In this M1 method, can I access system.out.name? Name can I access? What is the name? Name is the instance of static or local? Instance. Instance variables are global. Any method can access the global variable. But when it comes to system.out.println of A, am I able to access or I am getting the error? Am I able to access or I am getting the error? I am getting the error. What is that? A cannot be resolved to a variable. Boss, I don't know what is A. I don't know what is A. Why it is saying that I don't know A? A is already declared here now, but why it is saying that I don't know A? A scope is only within the method. Outside of this method, that variable cannot be accessed. So, if you want to use the variables only within that method, then go for local variables. Local variables will be created when the method is executed. Once the method execution completed, local variables will be deleted. Local variables are short period variables. When the method execution starts, variable will create. When the method execution completed, variables will be deleted. If you want to use a variable for temporary purpose, just for that method execution, then only go for the local variable. Can I declare local variable as a static variable? Can I declare this local variable as a static variable? No. You cannot make the local variable as a static variable. Static keyword is not allowed for the local variables. Okay, fine. Guys, now I'm going to take a class called demo. I'm going to take a class called demo. Public static void main string array of args. String array of args. Integer A. Integer A, integer B is equal to 20. System dot out dot println of A, system dot out dot println of B. Tell me what is the output. What is the output? 0 and 20. Wrong. Error. Why? Because A is a what variable? Local variable na. For local variables, initialization is mandatory before accessing. If you want to use any local variable, you have to initialize that variable. You have to initialize that variable. Are you guys clear with my point? Now, let me go here. Integer is available. Integer A is available. Integer A is available. If I declare the variable, no error. Why? If I declare that variable, I am not getting any error. Why? I am not using. I just declared it. I am not using. Now, I am doing SOP of A. What is the meaning of this? Accessing. But before accessing, is that variable initialized? No. So that is one of the rule in the Java. Before using the local variable, those variables should be initialized by the programmer. Because those are local variables we have created inside the method. When you want to use that variable, you have to initialize that variable before using that variable. Are you clear? Cool. Chalo, let's make a note of it. If we declare the variable within the method, then that variable can be used or accessed only within that method. So initialization is mandatory for the local variables before using them. If you want to use them, you have to initialize them. Before using local variables, we have to initialize them. What is the meaning of initialization? What is the meaning of initialization? Assigning the value. From last 1 month, what variables we have used? Local variables. We have declared a variable and we have initialized the variable and we have used that variable also. So till today or till yesterday, all the programs we have done based on the local variables. The variable which is declared inside the method is called as a local variable. When the memory will be allocated for the local variable? When the memory will be allocated for the local variable? When that method is called, or when that constructor is called, or when that block is executed. Wherever you declare, when that program, when that piece of code is executing, then only memory will be allocated. If we create a local variable in the method, if we create a variable within the method, then memory will be allocated. Memory will be allocated for that variable when that method when that method is executing. When that method is executing. After method execution completed, that will be deleted. After that method execution, that variable will be deleted from the JVM. So what is the scope of local variables? Local variables are specific to that particular method. What is the scope of the static variable?